A killing machine risks everything to save a girl he once helped. He takes on an entire spy organization head-on. The story begins on a lonely island. For the man living there, his biggest joy each day is standing on the lighthouse and watching the distance. At regular times, a small boat slowly comes closer from afar. The people on it always follow strict rules. Each time, only Sherry is sent alone to the island to deliver supplies to him. The wild sea waves slam hard against her small boat. Her uncle always stops the boat about 100 meters away from the shore. Sherry carries the supplies by herself to the wooden cabin. Every time, she leaves a small gift for Mason. Sadly, Mason never seems to accept her kindness. After the girl sails away for sure, Mason brings his dog back to the cabin, watching their figures fade into the distance. Life here is lonely and boring, but with a dog and some wine, there is still hope in life. After feeding the dog, Mason plays a game of chess with himself. It is his way to add a little fun to a dull life. But because of that, on the chessboard, there is never a real winner. Every time the wine runs out, it means new supplies should arrive. This makes Mason feel his life has a sense of belonging, but he wakes up from nightmares every day. Does he really have a chance to see the day of rescue come? The next day, the supplies arrive as usual. Her uncle tells Sherry to hurry back because the weather nearby looks very bad. Sherry does not see Mason at the lighthouse today. While Mason is still sleeping in late, he hears urgent knocking at the door. To his surprise, when he opens it, he sees an angry Sherry. She has been delivering things to him all this time and he just left her last gift inside the cabin. Most people would at least politely say thank you, but clearly Mason is not that kind of polite guy. Seeing the girl determined to get answers, Mason simply pushes her aside, blocking the doorway. Sherry looks like a very stubborn person. At this moment, the sea around the island suddenly turns unpredictable. The uncle sees Sherry on her way back. He shouts loudly, telling her to hurry back to the big boat. Not far away, a terrifying storm is taking shape. Inside the room, Mason still has not noticed the danger outside. On the sea, Sherry's small boat is smashed and close to breaking apart. The uncle tries to move closer to save her, but the next second, a huge wave crashes in and Sherry is swept into the waves. At this time, the dog seems to sense something wrong outside. Mason looks up toward the sound and realizes the sky is already filled with dark clouds. He knows something is very wrong and rushes to the dock to take the boat and save her. Sherry is still struggling with all her strength, but soon she is dragged into the deep sea by the uncle's big boat. Just as her life hangs by a thread, Mason arrives in time and saves her, but her uncle has already drowned inside the cabin. Mason is powerless to change that and can only save Sherry. He presses hard on the girl's chest to force the water out, then takes her back to his shelter. That night, the mood is very heavy. When the girl asks where her uncle is, Mason sadly tells her he died in the waves. This becomes the darkest night of her life. She holds back her grief and does not want Mason to see her weakness. When the next day comes and the sea finally calms, Mason is woken by Sherry's cries of pain. Her ankle was caught in a fishing net and badly hurt. Luckily the bone is not broken. After a night of rest, the swelling in her ankle has clearly gone down. They still need to find a way to reduce it more. Mason looks as cold as ice, but in truth he cares a lot about Sherry. He brings a cloth that can be used for an ice compress, but Sherry does not trust the man in front of her, because after the accident, he did not choose to call the police. He even stopped her from calling the police. This strange behavior naturally raises suspicion, but Mason gives no explanation. He only tells her to rest well and then turns away. Sherry asks him to take her back. Keeping a young girl like this is illegal. She does not even know why Mason lives in this lighthouse. This place seems to have been in use for a very long time, but the man has never left this place. All these signs suggest he is not a good person. Sherry says her family will come looking for her, but Mason bluntly tells her she has no family at all. Sherry's mother passed away years ago. She has probably never even met her father. Her only uncle who depended on her drowned just yesterday. She is shocked that Mason knows her family's situation so clearly, but even so, Mason still does not reveal anything about himself. To him, life is nothing but emptiness. Sherry does not know how she can escape from here, but her instinct to survive pushes her to force herself to stand up. She watches Mason walk away through the window, then starts searching through the room. Soon she finds a dagger in one of the drawers. She hides the dagger under her pillow. Just then Mason comes back. The room looks like nothing has changed at all, but that night, Sherry suddenly begins to have nightmares. Seeing that she sleeps uneasily, Mason comes over to check on her. Just as he gets close, Sherry suddenly senses something and wakes up. Mason does not look hostile, but Sherry's hands still shake uncontrollably. She gasps wildly, trying to calm herself, yet Mason does not take the knife or hurt her. He understands that Sherry is panicking, the pain and helplessness of losing family he knows very well. Mason then tells Sherry she must understand why she holds a knife. A person must not act out of fear. Only by staying calm can the mind stay clear. Then he hands the knife back to Sherry and even teaches her how to hold it properly without hurting her fingers. Sherry slowly begins to accept the kindness of this man. Mason usually does not talk much, but he always finds ways to pass the time. He sketches drawings of his dog. As time goes by, Sherry also grows closer to the dog. Every day, they sit by the sea and enjoy the view. This makes Mason's once dull life finally gain new energy. One day, Sherry sees him playing chess. She wants to know how Mason met her uncle. Mason says they were once very close friends. Even now Mason still refuses to tell Sherry his name. Even his dog does not have a name. Sherry can only feel that all of this is unbelievable. Since that is the case, she decides to call him Blackie. Sherry seems to know how to play a game of chess. This surprises Mason a little. It looks like he has finally met a worthy opponent. At this moment, he stands up to check Sherry's ankle, but the thing he fears most ends up happening. Sherry's ankle is badly infected. Yet Mason refuses no matter what to take her to the hospital. It seems he has reasons he cannot speak about. Since that is the case, Sherry stops asking further, but the next day, to treat Sherry's injury faster, Mason still chooses to go out to sea alone to buy medicine. Watching his back, Sherry feels something is strange. At this moment, she notices the sketches on the table. She realizes that in his heart, her importance has risen so high. Then Sherry opens his drawer and sees the gift she once prepared for him. That small crystal ball has been carefully kept by him. Maybe the man in front of her is not as strange as she thought. When he arrives at the harbor city, Mason does not stay for long. He finds a drugstore and starts choosing medicine. The whole time he keeps his back to the security cameras, because he understands the tricks of those politicians. Recently, the British government has been hit by a major scandal. The MI6 database was paralyzed after a hacker attack. News media around the world have already learned about it. In recent years, they have not only collected personal data of British citizens, they even secretly influenced many important elections. They even created a super intelligence system, a so-called advanced network where all humans join the analysis, which is actually just another way to monitor everyone. The head of MI6 intelligence, Stephen, attends this meeting. As the right-hand man of the current prime minister, he works hard to maintain the image of the agency. Stephen claims the surveillance system exists essentially to make wiser decisions, to respond effectively to various threats. No matter how righteous he makes all of this sound, he still must face charges for illegally violating personal privacy. Mason has long known the methods of those people, so in the drugstore, he stays in blind spots away from the cameras. Stephen keeps stressing that the launch of the surveillance system has made MI6 interception operations faster than ever before. He believes these people should be thanking him, but the meeting decides to remove the Prime Minister and his position. The system they are so proud of will be dismantled immediately. The government must stabilize the situation. So the Prime Minister has to push Stephen out as a scapegoat. It cannot be denied that he is indeed the most outstanding intelligence chief in the nation's history, but at the same time, he is a hopeless bureaucrat. Every human has their own flaws. The Prime Minister knows it is time to speak honestly with him. So she turns off the recording device and bluntly says leaving this place and going home is a good thing for Stephen, but will he really be able to enjoy a peaceful retirement? At this moment, Mason walks past a clothing store. He remembers that Sherry has not changed clothes since falling into the water, so he roughly measures her height and buys her an outfit. But just as he steps out the door, a girl live streaming at the entrance catches him on camera. The next second, the MI6 surveillance system triggers an alert. After checking the data, the glasses-wearing analyst issues a high-level warning. Based on the retinal scan match, they identify the man as a high-value target named Akamoya, who once bombed the British embassy in Algeria and was hunted by them ever since. His file is filled with acts of violence. With that confirmed, the field operator immediately notifies the nearest response team. At this time, Sherry's swelling starts to go down after using anti-inflammatory medicine. She should recover very soon. Just then, Mason takes out the new clothes. After Sherry puts them on, she looks radiant. Late at night, Mason tries to make her a pot of thick soup. Sherry can already walk slowly on her own. Just as they are immersed in this warm moment, Blackie suddenly lets out a low whimper. A dog's sensitivity to its surroundings is far beyond that of humans. Mason takes out binoculars and looks toward the sea. He sees a speedboat racing toward the lighthouse. He tells Sherry to hide immediately while he puts on his coat and takes out the dagger. He casually grips the dinner knife tightly from the table. Blackie is also guarding inside the hall. Sherry does not know what is happening, but she believes Mason would never hurt her. At this moment, he sees the agents about to land on the island. Mason stands beside the traps he prepared himself. The enemies wear night vision goggles and wait in formation, because they believe this capture target is just a badly dressed criminal. They have no idea Mason is far more terrifying than they imagine. As he triggers the mechanism in his hand, a huge rock cliff slides down. It also lifts a capture net that drags one agent into the sea. His teammates do not even have a chance to save him. Mason clearly understands their combat tactics very well. The next second, he turns on all the searchlights, making their night vision goggles useless. Seeing this, Mason prepares for close combat. He picks up a kerosene lamp and a dagger, then moves toward the lighthouse through enemy fire. Sherry hears the noise from the eaves and feels uneasy. One agent runs to the mountaintop to stop him while the other agents are drawn away. Mason uses a feint and pushes the enemy off the cliff. Another agent moves closer to the cabin. Blackie is ready and waiting. The moment he steps inside, Blackie bites him hard, but loyal Blackie is taken out by a single gunshot. After that, the agent finds Sherry hiding in the bathroom. Sherry tries hard to resist, but she is still taken away as a hostage. Another reckless agent enters the cabin to search. Without any mercy, Mason hangs him to death. His teammate finds the agent dead on the spot. He was planning to search the storage room when Mason suddenly rushes out and stabs him with a dagger. Outside, Sherry's painful groans can be heard. Mason rushes forward in panic and attacks the man fiercely. Sherry is startled by his sudden move. Seeing the camera above the enemy's head still running, Mason flips him over in one move, then takes all of the enemy's weapons. He tells Sherry to wait here. Mason wants to go back inside to take Blackie and leave together. But he does not know his old partner has already left him forever. All these years they depended on each other to survive. No one expected it to end up like this. Mason knows the trouble ahead will not stop, so he contacts his friend Curly and asks him to set up an escape plan. After using the phone, he throws it away. Seeing Sherry still a bit uneasy, Mason tells her to sit tight on the speedboat, because they must leave this place next. The woman in black is still in shock. An entire elite agent team did not even last 1 hour in his hands. She did not even have time to send support. Chasing this man is no longer a normal task in the system. His methods look like something only professionals can handle. So the woman in black activates an MI6 agent, puts other agent teams on standby. Since they cannot find any info on the man, they decide to start by checking the girl's background. At this time, the MI6 agent who is jogging receives the order. Once he gets the target, he heads straight to the port. Meanwhile, Mason takes Sherry and prepares to leave. Sherry notices he is injured and bleeding, but Mason says this small wound is nothing. They cross mountains and rough land all the way. Passing a farm, Mason spots a jeep. So he hands the rifle to Sherry and goes inside the house to look for the car keys. Sherry never expected he actually plans to steal something. The key problem is she has only shot air guns before. She knows nothing about real guns. Mason reminds her to keep the muzzle down and gently pull the trigger if something happens. Sherry wants to follow him inside, but listening and staying put is the best choice now. However, Mason finds nothing in the room. Worse, he is caught by the homeowner. At the critical moment, Sherry points the gun at the homeowner. This thing is much stronger than the fire poker in his hand. Faced with Sherry asking to help treat Mason's wound, the homeowner dares not resist and obeys. Meanwhile, the girl with glasses discovers Mason. His data has been deliberately erased. This shows someone does not want them to find Mason and someone else wants Mason caught the moment he appears. The woman in black is completely confused. The girl with glasses says the one who did this is very careful. He even used rare low-level core code. After the girl with glasses finishes a round of operations, the woman in black discovers Mason was actually once one of their agents, but there is very little information about him. They only know he used to be an SBS Special Forces soldier, supposed to have died in action 10 years ago, yet now he suddenly appears in this pursuit. Someone set up their own people and drew system attention. This is clearly an intentional killing or a framed setup. The girl with glasses wants to keep searching for more intel but finds she has no access rights at all. At this moment, the operations room intercepts a farm alarm call. The caller says someone broke in with a gun and it looks very much like Mason and the girl. The woman in black orders her team not to act rashly. It seems some secrets are beyond her authority. At the same time, Steven checks his own computer and unexpectedly sees data on Mason and Sherry. He never thought the ghost that haunted him most was still alive. The woman in black now orders level 1 alert. Their target is not Akamoya but former SBS member Mason. She decides to capture him alive as her first big move in office. The MI6 agent is already on the way. Although Steven has no real power in name, most of the MI6 agents still take orders directly from him. Seeing the mission is assigned to the MI6 agent, he immediately contacts him on a private line and orders him to make sure Mason is killed. As for the girl, she can be dealt with as well. Meanwhile, Mason finishes stitching the wound with the farmer's help. After all, the man only has experience sowing cows and sheep. Mason does not plan to make things hard for him. He only says he needs to borrow the car, but suddenly Mason senses something is wrong. The farmer's son has not shown up for a long time. When the boy walks out nervously from the back, Mason knows trouble has arrived. The boy admits he just called the police. Mason instantly regrets not cutting off the roots earlier. He is not afraid of the police, but once that call is made, it may bring even more dangerous people, soon. Sharp police sirens echo around the area. Subordinates inform the woman in black that police are on scene, so she tells the police to hold and not act recklessly, because MI6 professional response units are about to arrive on the scene. Sherry is still worried Mason will be arrested by the police, but she does not know Mason is extremely alert right now. As a former Special Forces soldier, his instincts let him sense the smell of danger. Seeing the farmer and his son trying to leave the place, Mason tries to stop them but it is already too late. The next second, the farmer is shot in the head by the MI6 agent. To achieve his goal, the man uses any means necessary. He first shoots out the tires of the police car. The woman in black never expected the MI6 agent to disobey orders. The situation on site has gone far beyond everyone's expectations. Mason charges at the police who rush in and beats them hard, but holding back causes him to be knocked loose of his rifle. Still, close combat has never scared him. In no time, several police officers are beaten to the ground. Mason then throws a heavy punch at the officer outside the door and takes his baton and pepper spray. The MI6 agent realizes Mason can find his blind spots, so he immediately changes position. Mason then uses the newly taken baton and taser to deal with the police. Even the baton alone is enough to crush the remaining officers. He hijacks a police car. Planning to take Sherry and escape from here, the woman in black orders the MI6 agent to stop the mission, but finds he has cut off all communications, leaving her clueless about what is really happening. After making sure Sherry is safe in the back seat, Mason slams the gas pedal and charges forward. Using the police radio he breaks through the blockade, but suddenly, the MI6 agent rams into him from the side. Sherry is startled. Faced with such a rude greeting, Mason decisively steps hard on the gas. Seeing he cannot catch up, the MI6 agent opens fire. Both cars race wildly across the British countryside. Spotting a fork in the road, Mason dives straight into it, but the MI6 agent refuses to let go and sticks close behind. Two luxury cars tear through the muddy ground at full speed. Sherry screams in fear. Mason slips for a moment and lets the MI6 agent overtake him. Seeing this, Mason slams on the brakes. This sudden switch turns the tables and flips the MI6 agent's car. After confirming the enemy cannot chase anymore, Mason drives off without looking back. Soon he reaches a lumber yard to switch vehicles. When the MI6 agent crawls out, he is covered in injuries. After all these years, this is the first time he has been humiliated like this. Seeing a car coming down the road, he stops it right in the street, but unexpectedly, there is also a police car behind it. Their rude attitude happens to be the perfect outlet for his anger. Meanwhile, the woman in black is full of doubts, so she makes a call to Stephen to ask about Mason's background. Stephen is a stubborn old-school agent. To be honest, even she knows relying on him is a serious mistake, but right now she wants to know what kind of connection Mason has with them. Stephen has long prepared a full story for this, but hearing that Mason wiped out an entire assault team alone, still leaves him shocked. He tells the woman in black that Mason is extremely dangerous. MI6 once secretly formed an elite agent project. The codename was Black Kite. The agents inside were not under MI6 supervision. Mason was among the earliest members. His cold and ruthless style became the standard for everyone. Later, he was ordered to eliminate a foreign intelligence officer, but he let the man go. After forging the report, he vanished without a trace. They believed Mason was turned by a huge payoff. Stephen warns the woman in black to be careful of him. He is not just an assassin but also a precise and deadly tool. Once he decides on a goal, no one can stop him, so she must find a way to prevent him from rising again, especially since he represents the dark side of MI6. The woman in black must kill him at any cost, but after receiving the order, she falls into deep thought. She feels this matter should be not as simple as Stephen says, so she uses her authority and asks the girl with glasses to dig into Black Kite. It turns out Mason once helped an Iranian scientist defect. The man promised to hand over the nuclear plan to MI6, but Stephen went back on his word, not only failing to protect the man, he even ordered Mason to get the plan, then kill him to erase all ties. In the end, Mason refuses to carry out the order, but every move the girl makes is under Stephen's surveillance. He never expected her to dig into his past. At this point, there is no other choice. Mason takes Sherry to a safe house. Sherry does not care about his real identity, because she has long been completely disappointed with this world. Mason has no family left in this world. He does not want things to become even more complicated. To be honest, Sherry has always been going through many painful things. Her mother and uncle separated long ago, but Mason always believes life is actually fair. Even when you know the truth is not that simple, you still have to go through it to grow. Just remember, never let it break your will. Sherry suddenly feels the man before her is very steady. She takes out the sketch Mason once drew. At least that person was once like family, staying with him through his hardest days. Soon Mason takes her near Curly's place, but to avoid being caught on cameras, they have to be extra careful. Even with all that caution, he is still caught by a car's front camera. Stephen immediately sends the location to the agent boss. To protect his position and everything he has, Mason must die here. At this moment, they arrive at an old church. He goes straight to find Curly. Seeing Mason bring a child with him, Curly feels they clearly understand the word burden in a very different way. At this point, it is best for them to leave quickly. Curly soon takes them to his safe house. There are no cameras here, so they can hide for now. After sending Sherry away, Mason plans to have a serious talk with Curly. Sherry has already seen through their plan. Mason looks at his old friend. He says Sherry's uncle once served with him. Now he wants to find Sherry a way out. Mason also wants to know how they found him. Curly reminds him this is not the time for emotions. Sherry is just someone who appeared at the wrong time by chance, a child who appeared in the wrong place. Curly thinks this is truly insane. Meanwhile, Sherry finds something to eat in the kitchen, but then she notices something familiar. Curly in front of her seems to be hiding secrets from Mason. Curly investigated how Mason's identity was exposed. Before leaving, Mason carefully made a fake identity. He was supposed to be an oil worker from Aberdeen. But for some unknown reason, someone in the system changed his identity again, turning him into a high-value terrorist on the watch list. This means Mason now has kill orders from multiple agencies over his head. Mason feels confused, but soon he realizes someone has indeed been trying to kill him, because Mason truly broke the only rule that man cared about. Curly snaps angrily. In his eyes, Mason is a man who stands tall while Steven has been planning to erase him after use. If Mason had kept pretending to be dead on that island, he might have stayed safe, but now surveillance caught him and activated the kill order. Mason asks Curly to take care of Sherry, because he cannot let Steven find his weakness. Mason cares deeply about this girl, so he hopes Curly will look after Sherry. Just as Curly is about to refuse, Sherry speaks up first, coming out to explain Curly really cannot do it, because he is now suffering from cancer. Her mother once took the same medicine. The doctor tells Curly he can last until one more Christmas. Now Mason has to think about his next move. He unexpectedly thinks of Kamal. As the most dangerous black market enforcer in Britain, he surely has a way to send Sherry out safely, but Curly bluntly says Mason must be crazy, without an MI6 background to control him. This is basically Mason trying to get himself killed, but Mason says this is his responsibility. Curly only needs to help connect him with the other side. After hesitating for a moment, Curly decides to help his old friend. Soon Curly starts packing his bags. Mason looks at Curly's medicine and understands how fragile life is. Sherry stands alone by the bed thinking about life. Mason feels sorry for not considering her feelings, but he only wants to make sure she is safe first. Now they must leave immediately. Just as Mason moves close to the door, he suddenly feels a wave of killing intent. Mason tells her to stay close, then grabs an iron bar and shuts the door. Years of agent experience tell him the enemy is outside. The door frame starts to tremble slightly. A dark shadow flashes past. Mason dodges without hesitation. In an instant, bullets pierce through the door. Sherry quickly hugs her head. Curly is startled outside and cannot get in to help in time. Seeing this, Mason knocks over a rack to catch him off guard. Then before the agent can react, Mason launches a brutal beating. But as a top-level agent, both of them fight evenly back and forth. Every punch lands hard and makes the blood boil. But the next second, the agent pulls out a knife. Mason refuses to back down and grabs a sharp spike nearby. Then the two rush at each other again, with short weapons. Every inch is dangerous. Sherry sees a pistol on the floor. Her heart races and she is eager to act. Mason keeps striking with full force, using every tool around him with great skill. But one mistake lets the agent lock him down with the spike. At the critical moment, Sherry raises the gun to save him. Seeing the weak girl, the agent decisively moves to grab the gun. Mason realizes something is very wrong. He grabs a flare gun nearby and fires first. By the time the agent reacts, it is already too late to shoot back. He fires wildly while chasing, but the shots only barely hit, causing no real damage. Learning that the agent has failed again, Steven can no longer sit still and calls in his security team. He orders the bald man Gross to take over the scene. Curly brings Mason to Kamal's territory. He hands Mason a phone with no tracking signal, telling him to keep it for emergencies only, warning him to use it only as a last resort. Then Mason and Sherry set off on their journey again. Sherry clearly feels the changes happening inside her. She suddenly realizes she is slowly becoming more ruthless. She thinks she should have killed that guy earlier. But Mason tells her to hold on to herself. They come from two different worlds. Seeing Sherry holding a gun and trembling makes him think of the little girl he first met. Tonight he will make everything end. Sherry will surely be reborn. He swears he will keep Sherry safe. But Mason can never go back to his island. Still he stays optimistic, believing another island is waiting for him. Sherry wants to go with him, but this life of hiding and running is clearly not the life she wants. Sherry understands their worlds only crossed paths for a short time. To protect her, he must stop those madmen. Even though they are not real father and daughter, they are both thinking for each other. Soon they arrive in London. With determined eyes, Mason heads into Kamal's territory. He tells Sherry to stay close to him. Only this way can he protect her. Meanwhile, MI6 has detected an external login. Curly's actions have already been exposed, but for now, no one knows where Mason has gone. Soon, the glasses girl starts pulling up all the data. Little do they know Mason to protect Sherry no longer cares if he is caught on surveillance. Reaching the door, he breaks in with brute force. Two strong men are taken down right in front of Sherry. Steven never expected the kid to go all in like this. The glasses girl quickly blocks his system access, then locks onto Mason's location. She orders her men to pull up all the cameras in this club. Inside it is full of flashing lights and nightlife. Mason and Sherry look completely out of place. But his goal is to meet Kamal. Even the bodyguards did not expect such a hard push. After all, this is their territory. After confirming they really came to see Kamal, once they get the boss approval, they quickly come out to receive them. But seeing Mason in such a miserable state, Kamal mocks him, saying he has lowered himself so much for this girl. Mason asks him to give him a way out. He only needs Sherry to be sent away safely. He will do one thing for him. For all these years, they have been controlled by surveillance systems. Now he can help by removing Kamal's rivals and taking out Steven, who has been threatening him. This deal fits Kamal's expectations. By then every MI6 agent will stop coming after him. Faced with these terms, Kamal is tempted, but Mason knows once he shows his face, he will draw in a large crowd, so they only have 10 minutes at most. After careful thought, Kamal decides to help. Sherry still wants Mason to leave with her, but a deal is a deal. Mason must keep his promise, yet this means going against all of MI6 and walking toward death. Mason has lived under the shadow of the past for years, so he has already accepted death, but Sherry is different from him. She still has plenty of time to live. Seeing this, Sherry asks him to promise he will not die. If possible, Mason wishes the same. At this moment, MI6's tactical team is rushing over. The black girl orders them to capture Mason and Sherry alive, but she can only make sure her people do not kill them. Steven's bodyguards are about to arrive early. Just then Kamal brings over their gentleman agreement. He can provide a safe house and a full set of new identities. As for Mason, he only needs to kill Steven. Soon Steven's security assassins arrive, but the MI6 team still needs 2 more minutes. At this point, leaving safely is almost impossible, since there is no peaceful ending. They might as well throw the whole situation into chaos. He shields Sherry, then using the crowd, he drives a broken glass shard into a guard's body. As for the rest, he clears them out with a silenced pistol. He no longer cares about exposing his identity, because the faster he takes them down, the sooner Sherry can reach the pier and the safe house. Just as he pulls Sherry into a corner to hide, a girl who suddenly appears exposes their position. Seeing danger, the assassin opens fire at once. Another storm of blood is unavoidable. He moves fast to shield Sherry, then charges in alone and starts cutting through everyone. When the assassin's pistol runs dry, he pulls out a knife, waiting for the moment to strike a fatal blow. Mason is hit and feels the pain, but he endures it and holds the assassin back. At that moment, Sherry rushes in to help and grabs him. She is thrown to the ground by the assassin. Mason no longer cares about exposing his position. He grabs the enemy's gun and fires on the spot. The crowd instantly erupts. This time he has truly stirred up a hornet's nest. The assassin sprays bullets wildly without thinking, then kidnaps Sherry, who was hiding nearby. Seeing this, Mason chases after them at full speed. At this point, he can only call Curly, asking for Sherry's current location. When the assassin drags her across the square, Mason immediately follows. The assassin forces Sherry into a car, ordering others to stop Mason, but Sherry fights back fiercely and causes trouble. Meanwhile, because his position is exposed, the tactical team is about to arrive to capture Mason. He must race against time to save Sherry, so Mason charges straight through the tactical team, taking advantage of the fact they dare not fire freely. After taking down several Special Forces soldiers, Mason faces Steven's assassin. A close-range shot to the chest does not care about body armor, with the final gunshot echoing. Sherry feels the world outside fall into sudden silence. Mason finally rescues Sherry safely. She trembles all over and throws herself into his arms. At this moment, the agent arrives late, watching their car disappear into the distance. The agent does not hesitate and chases after them. The agent tightens his grip and continues the pursuit. On the road, Sherry holds Mason tightly, feeling a chest as wide and steady as a father's. In the end, he narrowly manages to send Sherry onto a speedboat leaving London. From this moment on, he will face his fate alone. Sherry still wants him to leave with her, but Mason has to stay behind to deal with the agent, and he also has a score to settle with Steven. Looking at Sherry crying in tears, a trace of resolve flashes in his eyes. This is the best solution he can think of. Mason is glad that in the final moments, he could see her by his side. He was saved because of her. Seeing the agent closing in, Mason quickly pushes her into the cabin and faces the agent once more. It seems between the two of them, one must be eliminated. As they exchange fire, they run out of all their bullets. Seeing that Sherry has left safely, it is time for Fists to do the talking. The agent shows no feelings, only the mission. This seals a lonely end to a life of crimes. The two fight with all they have. Mason stops holding back and grabs an iron bar. The agent also picks up a metal rod. Mason is pinned down tightly, on the verge of dying in his hands. The next second, Mason flips over and throws him away, then follows up with a deadly strike. As the iron crashes down on his head, looking at the dying agent, Mason smashes the iron down again with force, finally ending him completely at the dock. Bringing this chapter to an end, Mason decides to settle things with Steven, right here in this once quiet place, where the boss thought he could enjoy peace alone. He sees all his guards dead in the courtyard. Mason appears behind him like death itself, cold fury mixed with killing intent. Mason stares straight at the old man. He wants Steven's last words, but Steven still tries to lure him back to return as his killing machine. The next second, Mason sends him straight to death. 10 years ago, he did not pull the trigger and regretted it ever since. This time he shows no mercy. After that, Mason completely vanishes from the world, but the black girl knows as long as she watches Sherry, one day he will appear again. The cafe camera where Sherry works is tampered with. The black girl knows that man has finally returned. A clerk suddenly hands Sherry a small gift. When she opens it and sees the chess set inside, Sherry understands at once that man has always been close by, but when she turns around, the man behind her is already gone. As long as Mason is still alive, he will protect Sherry forever like a father.